Hello everyone, my name is Peyton and welcome back to my channel. Today I am talking about the sad state of the New Orleans Saints. As I am recording this video, it is October 17th and they recently lost to the Cincinnati Bengals in 2022. And honestly, I'm kind of at the point where I feel like they need to start rebuilding. They need to tear this down and just start from scratch. Before I get more into that and why I feel this way, please like if you like this video and subscribe if you are new, and definitely leave a comment in the comment section down below and let me know what you think. So going into the season, I was not the most hopeful about this. A lot of people were really hopeful because it was basically the same team for the most part, except it wasn't Sean Payton that wasn't the head coach, it was Dennis Allen, who was promoted from the defensive coordinator position to the head coaching position. The bigger changes you can really say probably is more of in the coaching change than it was in the personnel change. But to me, that's the head coaching position is one of, if not the biggest decision that a team can make. It could easily make or break your future or the season's ending, basically, at the very least. Because the head coach is the leader of men. They are the ones in charge of disciplining players, making sure that they have their act right on the field and off the field. They're the ones who game plan. They're the ones who motivate the players. All of that. The head coach is a very big responsibility for really any sports league, but especially in the NFL because it's such a physical sport. And then on the flip side, you always have somewhere around 53 players. We have 53 players on the roster, even though some of them are inactive, either because of injury or healthy scratches, whatever it might be. I was not very hopeful of the Dennis Allen hiring as the Saints head coach because I don't know if I mentioned this before. Again, he just doesn't seem like a personality that is fit to be a leader of men. That is not to say I don't think he's a good coach at all. I think him as a defensive coordinator, going back to when he was in Denver, even for a short amount of time, and then his most recent stint here in New Orleans, he actually has a very good track record and was in very large part, responsible for turning around the Saints defense from becoming a historical liability, putting up the worst defensive stats under the previous DC, Rob Ryan, to becoming an elite defense the last couple years before the season, basically. His resume as a defensive coordinator says it for himself. But him as a head coach, he was an obvious failure at the Oakland Raiders for, I think it was like a little over 2 seasons. He was 8-24 over there. A lot of people attribute that to Al Davis kind of being on his last breath before he passed away. Not very good management decisions by the front office and not having good talent. But I feel like great head coaches, or at least very good ones, will find ways to at least get the players to play hard, to play up to their potential, even if the talent is not all there. Alright, the best example I can really give this is really last season for the Saints when they were going through a slew of injuries that had so many starting combinations and everything. And Sean Payton, whether you like him or not, and whatever criticisms of him you have or not, he is one heck of a motivator, and he dragged that team to become a 9-8 team, a team with a winning record, and really one bad Rams half away from against the 49ers in week 18, 17, whatever it is, from being in the postseason. That's how close the Saints were for making the postseason last year. They didn't do it, and they ended up dropping out of the postseason, and Sean Payton stepped down. I have not been impressed at all with Dennis Allen whatsoever. It doesn't seem like the team is really coached well, and they are not disciplined whatsoever. This New Orleans Saints squad has some of the most head scratching blunders They make real bad mistakes at the most crucial times. They just get penalized so much. It's like every single game the Saints play not only against the other opponent, but they also play against themselves. And it's easy, especially as a Saints fan, to say that the referees are against the Saints, they're on the other team's side, all that type of stuff. But at the end of the day, when you get penalized so much on every single game, you have to look at yourself and think, okay, we are an undisciplined, sloppy team, and we have to clean this up bad. And it just doesn't seem like Dennis Allen and the coaching staff holds this team accountable for those penalties, for those mistakes, for those turnovers. It just seems like you're watching the same thing over and over and over again, and it's not getting any better. And it's not like the Saints have an untalented team. Again, as I said before, it's a very, very talented team that has a lot of the same players from last season. You're talking about proven veterans. You're talking about Pro Bowl and all pro players on different parts of the roster, on both sides of the football, and they just can't seem to put it together. It's obvious that already, to me at the very least, that Dennis Allen is not the right guy as the head coach. As I said before, it doesn't seem like he gets the most out of his players. It doesn't seem like he motivates his players. It doesn't seem like he holds his players accountable even. That's how bad it seems on here. And I hate to kind of be this doom and gloom on week 6, but you would think that about this time of the year, you kind of clean up on those mistakes, and then maybe you find some other mistakes, no matter if it's game planning or some sort of play calling, whatever it might be. And again, that could be another separate issue that I'm not even addressing. But the biggest issues, as I've said, is just a lack of discipline, a lack of accountability. And this is exactly the result you're seeing right now. And as I said before, I'm only really looking at it from a big picture perspective. It's easy for me to nitpick every single play that the Saints have played so far this season and all this type of stuff. I'm looking at it from a big picture perspective. Because as I said before, you're seeing this over and over and over again. The next question really does become, where do the Saints go from here? They can't exactly tank the rest of the season. First off, I think it is a little too early to punt this season away. That's the first thing. And the second thing is that the rest of the division in the NFC South are not exactly world beaters like people thought. Bucks and the Falcons are leading the division. They're tied for leading of the division with a 3-3 record, with the Saints being at 2-4. So really, the division is not looking all that good. The Falcons are supposed to be rebuilding, and they're accidentally actually tied to lead the division. Go figure, okay? And that is one of the teams that the Saints beat. So as of right now, unless the Saints do lose to the Falcons later in the season, the Saints can actually sweep the Falcons and have that tiebreaker against them with the division. One thing I always say is that you worry about winning your division first before you worry about any other part of the standings. So my thing is that what I'm going to get into eventually is the fact that, what do you think really, realistically at this point, is the ceiling for this Saints team? Do you really think that it's a division winner? Do you really still truly believe that they can actually make the postseason? I don't think so, unless they somehow win the division. And even then, they might, at that point, they would be in the wild card round, albeit you host the wild card game. You may or may not lose against a wild card team like the Packers, the Niners, the Rams, the Cowboys, the Giants, the Eagles, whoever it might be. So you look at it from that perspective, and you're like, that doesn't really gonna do you any good. A lot of it is because the Saints this past offseason traded this year, so it would be, not this year, it would be next draft, so 2023 draft, they drafted their first round draft pick, okay, to the Philadelphia Eagles. So you don't even have your first round draft pick next season, in hopes, and I do think this is going to happen, Sean Payton does return to the NFL and he wants to coach another team. The Saints still have him under contract, so they can actually trade him away. Any team who's looking for a head coach is easily going to trade away a high draft pick, most likely a first round draft pick for not only, in my opinion, a great coach, but someone who one can argue is a Hall of Fame caliber head coach. That's how good Sean Payton is. Whatever criticism you might have of him, his record, his resume says it for himself. If the worst you do as a head coach is 7-9, any team would take that. I would take that, especially watching this team right now. I would think they would be lucky finishing the season 8-9. So I think about it from that perspective, and they can recoup a first round draft pick. Most likely, it's going to be somewhere around a mid first round draft pick. I do think that the best thing to do for the Saints team long term is to blow it up, because your best players are older players, or they're players in their prime that are going to cost a lot of money, who sign these huge contracts. The Saints, for the last however many years, kept pushing the dead cap back and back and back, and at some point you have to pay for it. I think this is the time to do it when the Saints are not contending. They don't look like they're going to be contenders at all. You kind of look at it like that, and you just have to take a step back for a couple years, get all the assets that you can get from guys like Marshawn Lattimore, Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara, and then shed some other contracts. Just start anew, build up on your assets, build up a new foundation, and then just go from there. And hopefully you can compete again, most likely with a different head coach. Because again, I just don't think Dennis Allen is the guy. I never thought he was. At the same time, I understood why they gave him that chance, because he did do so much for this Saints organization when he came back in 2016. So I understood it, but I didn't like it. That's my main perspective on that. I hope, when I make this video, I kind of hope I'm wrong. I hope that they turn around and they look like royalty. When you're a team that more so beats yourself than gets beat by the other team and just finds ways to lose, I just kind of find that hard to believe. So I think the next thing they should really do is really consider hitting the reset button, blowing everything up, trading your best players away, getting all the assets that you can. You just kind of rebuild from there. What really changed the Saints' fortune was not so much of just having Drew Brees and Sean Payton. They were always there. It was having one great draft class, which was the 2017 draft pick, where everyone ended up signing a second contract. No matter if it was here in New Orleans or if it was elsewhere. The fact is that at a certain point you had all of them in the same building who were doing great things for your organization, were major pieces to the 2017 team, to the 2018, 19, 20, and even to an extent the 2021 team. And again, those same players you might have to trade away because they're in their prime or about to get out of their prime, and they need to be competing for a Super Bowl, and the Saints, I just don't think, are in that position anymore. And look, again, maybe I'm wrong, but unfortunately, I just don't see it that way. And then I guess one thing that I know some of you could be asking is just that if you don't think Dennis Allen is the right guy, who are you going to replace him with? I honestly don't know the answer to that question yet. I think there are some quality guys out there, but I would need to see their resume. I would need to see how they treat their players, how they lead their players, how they game plan. I would have to really think about that before I throw any sort of names out there. And I feel like I'm hypocritical when I'm going into this point. Every time I hear someone say, you gotta fire this head coach, I always ask the follow-up question. Who are you gonna hire then? Who's gonna be that person that's gonna lead you to that next level? Unfortunately, I applied that to myself, and I don't have the answer to that question. And maybe it's just because I need to look into the field and see who's out there that's available. It's something that I really do have to think about, and hopefully in a future video, I can really come to that conclusion, and we can just go from there. Now, all of that is not to say that the Saints should or will hire Dennis Allen this season if things keep going the way that they do. I never really think that it's a great look for an organization, no matter if you're on the NFL level or the college level, to fire a head coach after only one season, unless there's a whole scale, like a whole lot of scandals, like it actually was with Urban Meyer in Jacksonville last season, or if there's lots of reports coming out of no one liking him, or no one's playing for him or everyone just flat out quit on him already, to the point where the culture is just absolutely dead. Okay, because that's something that a head coach does. They build a positive and a successful winning culture like Sean Payton did when he got into New Orleans from year one. Year one, leading the lowly New Orleans Saints right after Katrina to the NFC Championship game. A game that they never ever played in or even touched or sniffed before Sean Payton got there in 06. And I just don't think Dennis Allen has really been good for the Saints culture that's been built up for so long under Sean Payton. It's one thing I've always said, because I actually experienced this myself when I was playing high school football. It takes many years, I would say many years most of the time, to build a very good and a winning culture. It only takes one bad season for a coach to screw it up. And so that's why I was thinking Dennis Allen is not the best guy. That's not to say right now he's destroying the Saints culture or anything like that, which is why I'm not necessarily leaning towards firing him after 1 year. But you do have to consider that option if things do get bad enough. So I think that's really it for this video. I think I've said everything that I needed to say, and some points I've probably made twice or 3 times already. So again, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hate to kind of be the doom and gloom guy early in the season, but it's just something that I thought about, and I even went on to the Saints subreddit. Shout out to the Saints subreddit. I know there's some other people that's in there that agrees with me on that, maybe for different reasons. And so I kind of wanted to voice that opinion here on YouTube, basically. So again, I hope you enjoyed this video. Like it if you like this video, subscribe here if you are new, and leave a comment in the comment section below and tell me how you feel. Peace.